We all have been influenced, and we too can become an influence. You see, we are all products of influence. And understand this, that you are the joke if you think influence is a joke. Good evening, guys. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting upgrade live with Mr. Upgrade. So I am Mr. Upgrade, now Dr. On another exciting upgrade. We do this every Sundays from 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m. and we basically get to do four things. Yes, we got to do four things on the upgrade live. And the four things are: one, we got to take your questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask your questions and we'll gladly take them. Number two, we're going to share with you the upgrade mastery tip for the week. And for this week, the upgrade mastery tip is influence. Yes, influence. That's the upgrade mastery tip for this week. The third thing we get to do here is that we get to connect, network, and bond, because we understand how important it is for connecting, networking, and bonding, because we are from all around the globe who come here to learn. And then the fourth thing that we get to do here, which I enjoy the most, is that we get to have fun. Yes, we get to have fun, because we strongly believe that if there is no fun, there is no learning at all. Because anything you learn in full pleasure, you remember in full measure. So, guys, how are you? This is another exciting time of fun, of learning, of transformation, because this is what we do here on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade. Now, Dr. Upgrade. Okay, so guys, today we're going to talk about influence. But before we get into that conversation on influence, you know how we do it here. We always start with our basic 5 questions. Yes, our basic 5 questions help us to set the tone and the foundation for this conversation. Right now, on our basic 5 questions, question number one is simple: what is influence? What is influence? I don't think that this is the first time you ever heard the word influence. So, what is influence? What does that really mean? When you hear influence, what does that mean? What does it resonate for you? What is influence? What is influence? Tell me, what does that mean? What is influence? See, guys, influence is an effect. Yes, in its simplest of definitions, influence is an effect. Let me break that down further for you. You see, it's an effect that has the capacity to affect character, development, or behavior of someone or something. That is influence. Influence is an effect. It's an effect that has the capacity to affect character, behavior, development of a person or a thing. That is influence. And the truth is this: we are all influenced, and we too can become an influence. Now, question number two is simple and really interesting. Question number two is: who's responsible for influence? Now we know what influence is. Who then is responsible for influence? Tell you, you are. Yes. And you'll be wondering, but how am I responsible for influence? Don't even bother, because if you stick to the end, you'll find out how you are responsible for the things that influence you. Right? So you are responsible for influence. You cannot blame the influence to society, to religion, to tradition. You can't blame influence to anything but yourself. Because the same way you choose to be influenced is the same way you can choose not to be influenced. So you are responsible for whatever it is that influences you. Because you can be in the midst of wrong and still do good. Say that again. You can be in the midst of wrong and still do good because you choose to not be influenced by the wrong. So that's why I say you are responsible for influence. Now, question number 3, right? Question number 3. Why influence? Why do we have to talk about influence? Why is influence of any significance, of worth? Why influence? I'll tell you 3 reasons why influence. Number 1, belief. One of the things that influence does to a person is that it changes the belief. Influence is like a program, computer program. When it gets into a system, it changes the original programming that was there. It's like a virus, right? Influence changes belief. So there may be some things that you really did not like, you really did not pay attention to, you really did not really value. But when you are being influenced, your belief about those things starts to change. I can't hear people say that, but it's not really that bad. No. You're being influenced and your belief is changing. So you see why influence. So for good or for bad, influence, why is important? Belief change. It changes belief. Now, the second reason why influence is behavior. Now, once your belief is changed, guess what? Your behavior naturally follows suit. It's like yin and yang, right? Hand in glove. Once your belief about a thing changes, your behavior to that thing automatically changes. And that's what influence does. So don't worry. We're going to talk a lot about this today, and it's really going to open your mind to some certain realities you have not been paying attention to. The third reason why influence culture. So you see, it starts with your belief, it changes your behavior, then it becomes a culture, right? It now becomes a way of life, now becomes how you see life, how you do life. That becomes a culture. So the end goal of influence is a culture shift. That's the end goal. For any influence, the end goal of it is to shift culture. So the things that you normally would do, you no longer do them anymore. And the things that you normally would not do, you now start to do them. It's a new culture. So this is why influence, belief, behavior, and culture. So that could be BBC. That could be BBC. Belief, behavior, and culture. Follow me closely. Today's conversation is mind-blowing. Literally, it is mind-blowing. It's something that you really need to wake up to because it's happening all around you. Like I said, you are the joke if you think influence is a joke. You are the joke. I see this. What are the benefits of influence? Question number 4. What are the benefits of influence? There are 3 benefits of influence I can share with you. Number 1, it brings a shift, right? Influence brings a shift, and that shift many times is first a mind shift and then a culture shift. That's what influence does. It brings a shift, and that shift starts with first a mind shift and then a culture shift. Remember BBC, your belief, your behavior, your culture. Influence starts with a shift. It brings a shift, many times away from the normal. Influence brings a shift. One of the benefits of influence is a shift. Good or bad, it's a shift. Second benefit of influence is that it transforms. Things do not just change, influence transforms. For good or for bad, influence transforms. You see some people who are not doing a certain thing before. Influence transforms. The third benefit of influence is that it takes over completely. You know, influence follows the seat model: strategize, infiltrate, take over. The goal of influence is to take over completely. Influence is not a joke. That's why I said if you think influence is a joke, you are the joke. Influence takes over completely. It spares nothing. It leaves no prisoners. It takes over completely. That's influence for you. The three benefits of influence. Number one, it brings a shift, mind shift, and the culture shift. Number two, it transforms. And number three, it takes over completely. Now, the question is, when is the best time to have influence? When is the best time for influence? When is the best time? I always tell people the last best time for influence was yesterday. The next best time for influence is now. Wake up, guys. Pay attention to what's happening around you. You are either being influenced or you are the influence. And it's always best that you influence, because if you are not the influence, guess what? You are being influenced. If you are not the influenced, you are being influenced. So you must wake up to the realities. Don't joke with what's happening. Wake up to the reality. It's either you are the influence or you are being influenced. That's why this conversation is of significance and importance for us at this time. Right? So if you're watching this, please type influence in the comment section with some fire emojis so I know that you are ready. Now, let's look at the word influence, because we need to look at it and then understand it, right? Before we get into using case scenarios and examples, right? Look at this. INFLUENCE, influence, right? INFLUENCE, influence. Let's look at the word influence, right? So this would really help us in this conversation today. Influence, right? Pay attention, follow me closely. Now, look at this. The I in influence is intentional. No influence is by chance. Every influence is intentional. Now, I need you to notice that for the fact that you are not paying attention to it doesn't mean influence is not intentional. Do you get that? For the fact you are not paying attention to it does not mean influence is not intentional. You know, recently I saw the stat that for the LGBTQ community, they had invested back in 1984 over $100 billion. Think about it. $100 billion. Which means, remember I told you, influence practices the state model: strategize, infiltrate, take over. And you could see this being applied with the LGBTQ agenda. Influence. To the point where people feel it's okay being other genders other than male and female. Influence. Influence is intentional. But the fact you're not paying attention to it doesn't mean influence is not intentional. Right, remember, it's to produce a shift, a mind shift, and a culture shift. And this conversation is something that you should be paying attention to. So you can open your eyes to the things that are already influencing you that you did not even know or realize. Because they are there, they are all around you. Influence is in the air. You literally breathe influence. It's in the air. From the songs, the music, the videos, all of these things are intentional to the intent that people will be influenced. They are very intentional. They are not a joke. They are not a joke. They're very intentional. The I in influence is intentional. The N in influence is new. The goal of influence is to bring in something new. And it's to bring in something new where there will not be any form of resistance. It comes in subtle and there is no form of resistance. So prior to now, people would say, oh, it's wrong. How did a girl be kissing a girl or a girl be loving a girl? It's wrong. But today it looks like the norm. Not something new. People could say, oh, they no longer want to be male anymore. They want to be another gender. It's brought something new. Influence. Whether good or bad, influence brings something new. It brings a new idea, a new thought, a new philosophy. It brings something new, a new ideology. Influence brings something new. So you must be paying attention to the things that are happening around you. Now, I'm saying things happening around you because the truth is this. Many times, we become oblivious of our environment. Because we get into roots and routines, we become oblivious of what's really happening. Because our mind has already been wired and configured for roots and routine. So we don't even know what's happening anymore. And then influences. Bravo! Well done. I like it that you don't even know. Because you never see me coming. You never see me coming. Right? The F in influence is force. Every influence comes with a force. See, influence did not come to joke with you. It didn't come to play. Influence comes with a force. And take over. You see, when you hear people say, oh, you're being influenced. That's the thing driving you. That's the influence with the force. It's the force. Because even science lets us know that everybody remains in a state of rest or is being impacted by a force. It is being impacted by force. So influence is a force that jumps you up from your reality and puts you into another reality. It's a force. The force of influence. The F in influence is force. Now, I'm not saying it's going to push you heavily, just put no. It's a force that affects you. Remember, influence is about effect and effect. Effect and effect. Influence is the force. So look at the things that have influenced you. See how the force of those things are taking over you. Right? The L in influence is like. You see, for the things that would influence you, they start to become appealing to you that you now like it. You may not like it at inception, but when the influence kicks in, you start to like it. See, influence is a big deal, guys. Influence is a big deal. It's a big deal. And when you don't pay attention to the things that are influencing you in your environment, you are in the deep shit. Wow. Why? Because you don't know what, when you now suddenly like some of the things you like, it's influence. Influence causes you. The L in influence is like. The U in influence is undeniable. Whatever starts to influence you, you cannot deny it. It's undeniable. It's seen. It's visible to the blind, audible to the deaf. It's undeniable. The influence is undeniable. You cannot say, no, it's not influencing me. No. It's seen all over you. It's undeniable. Influence is undeniable. You cannot just deny it. Even when you lie to yourself, you still cannot deny it. Influence is undeniable. Right? The E in influence, the first in influence is energy. Influence gives you a certain energy. Remember, it's a force, and now it also gives you a certain energy. You see people who are influenced by alcohol, for example. You see them having a certain kind of energy. That's influence. Influence gives energy. It gives you energy. People who are high, there's certain energy. It's influence. It's always the energy that comes with influence. And in today's world, people talk about vibe a lot. Influence also gives you a certain kind of vibe. Yes, it will always be vibing. Influence gives you a certain kind of vibe, certain kind of energy. Then people say, "Oh, I'm not feeling that person's vibe. I'm not feeling that person's energy." And people say, "Oh, I feel that person's vibe. I can feel the energy." That's influence. You see that a lot with music. People say, "Oh, I feel the music. I feel the beats. I feel the energy." That's influence. Because influence comes with energy. E for what? E for energy. The end in influence is near. Truth be told, influence is near you more than you even think or know. Influence is near you more than you even think or know. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Influence is in the air. You can literally breathe influence. It's in the air. It's everywhere. It's in the air. You can literally breathe influence because it's everywhere. The movies, to the music, to the documentaries, anything you can see and hear has a level of influence because influence is near you. You are not far from influence. You are not far from influence. You will be deceiving yourself to think you are far from influence. You are not far because influence is near. From conversations, from gist, from gossip, influence is near you. It's near. I'm going to share with us a story as we continue to see how near influence is to you. Very near. Very near. And then the C in influence is character. Influence changes your character. Remember, I told us earlier that influence transforms. It literally changes your character. You start to become something totally different from who you used to be, whether good or bad. Influence changes character. Influence has an impact on character, direct impact on character. Like the difference influence makes on character is like the difference between night and day. So glaring. So glaring. Influence has impact on character. And finally, the last E on influence is an experience. Every influence gives an experience. It leaves an experience. It provides an experience. This, guys, we all love experiences. As humans, we love and crave and curate experiences. Influence gives an experience, whether good or bad. Influence gives an experience. So, guys, this is what influence is all about, right? It's about intentional, new, forced, like, undeniable energy, near character experience. This, guys, is influence. But most interestingly, let's look at this conversation more detailed. All right, let's look at it more in details because this will really help us and look at examples that show how much influence we have around us. See this, guys. I'd like to let us know this that influence is not taught, influence is caught. You don't teach influence, you catch influence. So, the song that are trending today, even some dance moves. Who thought that? But it's everywhere. People don't teach other people influence. People catch influence. So influence is not taught, it is caught. It's caught. They say, oh, that person is influencing you. No, no, no. The person is not necessarily influencing you. You have caught the influence from the person. You caught it. You caught it. When you spend time, when you begin to value those things, you are catching the influence. It's just like influence and influencer. Influencer is a disease. Influence is also a disease. So let's say when you have communicable disease, so when you're in an environment of someone who has a communicable disease, it means that by virtue of you being in that environment, you can be contaminated. So if the person sneezes and you are in that environment, you can inhale the atmosphere that has now been loaded with that bacteria. Yeah, thanks to small microbiology I did. And you now become infected. So the question is, you are either an influence or you are an influencer. An influencer is a disease. Influence is also a disease if it's not used properly. But the bottom line is this: influence is caught. You catch it. So just the same way you're in an environment where somebody has tuberculosis and it coughs and you also catch it. Right? Influence is caught, it's not taught. So people who have caught your influence, they caught it. You didn't teach them, they caught it. Just being around you. Just like the disciples were around Jesus, and people saw them and said, these ones are Christ-like, they are Christians. Why? Because they are taught being with Jesus, what he does to a person. You see, but these people are laying their own unlearned people to say, oh, they had been with Jesus. There's some things being with Jesus you catch. Influence. No wonder you see Martha was saying to Jesus, tell Mary to come and help me out in the kitchen in Luke chapter 10 from verse 38 to 42. Jesus said, no, I wouldn't do that. What Mary has desired to do will not be taken away from her. She's willing to sit at my feet to learn from my words. She's cutting influence. Influence is caught. It is not taught. Right? Now, there are three simple things about influence. Three simple things about influence you should always remember. Number one, the environment. I call it EAT. EAT. Environment, association, and thinking. This is something you need to know about influence. The environment, the association, the thinking. You see, when you are in a certain environment, that environment begins to influence you. And let me give you an analogy that I think you can be able to relate with. I don't know how many of you grew up to meet an aquarium, right? Aquarium is an artificial body of water where you keep fishes and all of those little organisms. So it's just small aquarium like the screen here, just a small aquarium. So you can put a goldfish inside and just swimming up and down and all of that. You feed it from time to time and all that to keep the fish there. Now, research has shown that goldfish in the aquarium will not grow to its normal size because it's in the aquarium. But take that same goldfish and put it in a real body of water, it will grow 6 times the size it grew in the aquarium. What happened? The environment. And that's the same thing about influence. You have no idea how your environment has influenced you. You have no idea how being in a certain environment has influenced you. You know, have you seen that experiment where they put people in a room, they press the bell, and then some people stand up, and they press the bell, they sit down. And after a while, they keep changing people in the room, and they press the bell, people stand up, they press the bell and sit down. And after a while, without them even pressing the bell anymore, the people will stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. Why? The environment. See, guys, one thing you must become aware of is how potent the environment is. Environment is so strong when it comes to influence that even after the children of Israel had left the Egypt, the Egyptians, they were still craving the things in Egypt, the garlics, the cucumbers, the melons. Influence. What it does to you in an environment. That's why you hear people say you can take the girl out of the street, but you can't take the street out of the girl. Why? The environment influences the girl. The environment. Second thing about influence you need to know is the association. Since one thing to be in an environment is another thing to associate with the environment. Because you can be in Egypt and be in Goshen. Is this making sense? You can be in Egypt and be in Goshen. Why? Because you don't associate with Egypt. That's why they say, show me your association and I can predict your future. Why? Because who you associate with has a direct influence on your life. Scripture says, he that walks with the wise become wise, Proverbs 13:20, and then the companion of fools will be destroyed. Your association is key because it influences you. So another thing about influence is the association. Who are the people in your space? Who are the people you relate with? Who are the people you associate with? It's having a direct influence over your life. Whether you believe it or not, it is what it is. It is what it is. Your association has a direct influence over your life. You know, they say even those people who are with people who smoke, they are passive smokers. In fact, the passive smoking does more damage than the active smoking association. If you're not smoking, why be in a place of people who smoke? You are associating yourself with them and you are also being influenced by what they do, because even by being with them, you become a passive smoker and you still do damage to your own health by being with them, by associating with them. So see, you must understand this, that association is another thing about influence you need to know. First is the environment, second is association. The third is your thinking. Your thinking. And guess what? Your thinking is always a product of your environment and your association. And that begins to give you a certain way you think. Because if you hang around stupid people, you also become a stupid person. And you think stupid things. Why? Your environment, your association will produce your thinking. And as a man thinks, so he is. As a man thinks, so he is. So you want to change your thinking, get out of the association, get out of the environment, and then your thinking will start to change. But as long as you are in the environment, you are with the association, your thinking remains the same. This is about influence, environment, association, thinking. And that's what I call EAT. 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 And like I say, influence will eat you. The environment, the association, the thinking, it will eat you. To eat you. See, there are two traits of influence. Two important traits of influence you find around and you should pay attention to. Two traits of influence. Number one, the mindset. Number two, the lifestyle. These are two traits of influence. You always see it in the mindset, how the person thinks, how the person reasons, how the person believes, what the person say. It's from the mindset. Then you see it in the lifestyle, how the person now lives. So this person truly has been influenced. The mindset, the lifestyle. The mindset, the lifestyle. These are two traits of influence, the mindset and lifestyle. Now, there's one goal of influence. One goal of influence. And the one goal of influence is a shift. The whole idea of influence is to have a shift. And what's that shift? To have a mental shift and then a physical shift. That's it. Have a mental shift and a physical shift. Because when you move mentally, it will move physically. I always say this, until you are mentally ready, you will never be physically prepared. Why? Because influence produces a shift. And that shift is first mental before it is physical. It's first mental. And you know that even your environment, it is first mental before it's physical. Because you can be in Egypt, like I said earlier, and not be in Egypt because you're in Goshen. Your environment is different mentally and physically. Because to leave a place, you first have to leave the place first mentally before you leave physically. So your environment is first mental before it is physical. Where are you in your mind? Where are you in your headspace? Now you see why scripture says, guard your hearts with all diligence. For out of it are the issues of life. Because what comes in is hard for you to get out. So you must guard it. See, in today's world that we live in, the number one influence is what? You want to guess? Give me a guess. Let me wait in the comment section for a bit. Give me a guess. Number one influence in today's world. What do you guess? Type in the comment section. Let me see. Oh, I see it. I see it. Yes, I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Makes sense. You see, the number one influence in today's world is social media. Social media. That is the number one influence that we have in this world today. Social media. And you see the word media begins with M-E, me. And you see why we live in a world of so many selfie. Right? Media, me. The number one influence in today's world is social media. You're looking at social media and you're feeling like, oh, I've not made it in life. You're suffering. God has abandoned you. And you hear people say, well, am I a spoon? Am I a plate? That's how much you have been influenced by social media. And you don't even know. Start to envy lives that are not yours. Influence of social media. You see these guys. Influence happens from two things. Two things. What you see and what you hear. That's how it happens. What easily influences people are two things. What they see and what they hear. That's why scripture says, be careful what you see and be careful how you hear. You know, even faith comes by hearing and by hearing of God's word. Fear comes by hearing. You're influenced by two things. What you see, what you hear. What you see, what you hear. These things easily influence anybody. You never saw the need to get XYZ until you saw someone who had XYZ. You never saw the need to want ABC until you heard someone had ABC. What you see, what you hear easily influences you. Easily. And the truth is this, even with this upgrade live that we do every Sunday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., is to be able to influence you to upgrade. It's still an influence. So when you watch it, you hear what we say, is to influence you to upgrade and become a better version of yourself. It's still influence. I'm not going to kid you. It's still influence. Still influence, guys. Influence. And influence begins with the subconscious before the conscious. I have always told us that the human mind is like a sponge. It soaks up any and everything. It just soaks it up. It takes it all in. It registers them in the subconscious. And from time to time, it brings it back to your conscious. Brings it back to your conscious. Influence is first subconscious before it is conscious. And I'll give you examples to show you that. Right? And that's why I told you earlier, influence can eat you up. Environment, your association, your thinking. You see, influence is too powerful that your willpower is weak before it. You know, people say, oh, I have willpower. No. See, influence is too powerful for willpower, for your willpower. Your willpower is weak before influence. Weak before influence. That's how powerful influence is. You won't know when you start to do things you said you will never do. It's influence. Did you say, over my dead body, I will never do it? You have done it and more. It's influence. Influence is too powerful that your willpower is weak before it. It's weak. See, influence gets into you, into your core. It breaks all your defenses. It breaks it down. It collapses it like the wall of Jericho. Breaks it down. Your willpower stands no chance at influence. It stands no chance at influence. Your willpower stands no chance at influence. It stands no chance, zero chance at influence. Your willpower is at zero chance at influence. Zero. See these guys. See, are your thoughts or they have already been influenced? I'd like you to ask yourself this question. Are your thoughts really your thoughts or they have already been influenced? Are your desires really your desires or they already been influenced? Ask yourself that question. The things that you are liking, the things you are loving, the things you are craving for, are they really your thoughts and desires, or they are the effect of influence that you don't even know yet? Why do you like the things you like? Why do you want the things you want? Are they really your thoughts? Are they really your desires? Or they have been influenced? And you now think they are your thoughts and they are your desires. You see, influence is so powerful, it gives you what to love and a lifestyle. Hi, thanks for joining. Influence is so powerful, it gives you what to love and a lifestyle. You see, sometimes people are ill, influence, lifestyle, and love. Influence, love, and lifestyle. Ill. Some people are ill. People are ill and they don't even know. They've been influenced to what they love and to the lifestyle they have. And they don't even know. They don't even know. They have no clue. They have zero clue about it. Hi, thanks for joining all the way from Saudi Arabia. You see, we're global, guys. This is Mr. Upgrade Global. We're global. Thanks for joining all the way from Saudi Arabia. Thanks for joining. It's better late than never. Thanks for joining. I'm glad that you came. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I honor you. Thank you for being here. Let's continue, guys. This is making sense, guys. This is making sense. Put some fire in the comment section if this is making sense, right? You see, Influence can be so subtle that it can happen through a harmless conversation. let's get into some really cool stuff and deep stuff too. Influence can be so subtle and it can happen through a harmless conversation. We are just talking. Yes, we are just talking, but influence is happening. Influence is happening. Remember Jonadab? He had a conversation with Amnon in 2 Samuel 13. When Amnon was telling him, "Oh, you see, I love my sister Tamar and I really want her," and all of that. And Jonadab said, "Okay, if you really want her, act like you're sick and ask that your dad, David, to send her to come and take care of you." Conversation, seemingly harmless conversation. And Amnon did that. Tamar came, coming to take care of him while he acted he was sick, and then he raped her. All of this came about from a seemingly harmless conversation from Jonadab. Influence can be so subtle, it can begin from a harmless conversation. And even when 2 years passed after Amnon had raped Tamar and Absalom was scheming on how to kill Amnon, and when it was time for his harvest, celebrating his feast of harvest, he invited all the king's sons to the table and told his men, "When Amnon is drunk, strike and kill him." And they did. And all the other siblings saw what happened to Amnon. And guess what? David was grieved that, oh, this could happen to his children. This same Jonadab came and said, "Oh, not all your children died though. It's just only Amnon that was killed. Not all of them died." See, guys, you have no idea how much influence can be so subtle. It can begin from just a conversation. Just a conversation. You were not thinking of it before until you had that conversation, whether good or bad. Just a conversation. You see, influence can be quick, other times it can be slow, but the impact is the same. There's quick influence, there is slow influence, but the impact is still the same. Quick or slow, impact is still the same. Still the same. I'll give you an example of some slow influence and some fast influence. The slow influence was Delilah being persistent to get the secret of Samson's strength. She was slow, taking her time, trying him out. She was slow, but the impact was great because when she got it, she shaved off all of Samson's hair and caused the enemies to capture him. And Samson shook himself as at other times, and there was nothing he could do this time. So slow, but the impact was the same. Another slow influence was the widow in Luke 18, who went to meet the unjust judge demanding justice for her son. And she kept persisting, she kept persisting, she kept persisting, to the point that the unjust judge said, "I do not fear God nor man, but this woman's persistence is wearing me out." You see, influence will wear you out. Influence will wear you out. And then she gave her justice. Slow, but the impact is the same. Another slow influence was Egypt and the children of Israel. Egypt, over time, influenced the children of Israel to not just become sojourners in the land, but to become slaves in the land. And even when they left Egypt being free from being slaves, they were still thinking like slaves. Hence, they were saying, in Egypt, we had the garlics, we had the cucumbers, we had the melons. and they wanted to go back to Egypt. Slow influence, but the impact is still the same. And then there is fast influence, right? There's fast influence, and by fast influence, things that happens fast. Elijah had a fast influence on Elisha. They met Elisha. Elijah burnt the oxen, made a sacrifice, left everything he was doing for his own father, and followed Elijah. Fast influence. Scripture said Elisha was the one who was pouring water in the hands of his master. Fast influence. He didn't think twice. He followed him. Another fast influence was Jesus having the influence on Peter. After Peter had the net-breaking miracles, Jesus told him, now you no longer catch fish, you'll be catching men. Immediately, Peter left fishing. Fast influence. He left fishing. He was a commercial fisherman, but he left fishing and followed the master. Another fast influence was Bathsheba on David. David saw her once. Her beauty was something he could not look twice. And then he demanded for her. Fast influence. See these guys. Whether influence is fast or slow, the impact is the same. The impact is the same. You see, there's something I need you to understand. It is hard for you to be influenced by what you did not already desire for. Now you say, okay, see, the reason why LGBTQ influences you is because you have the desire for it. It will be hard for you to be influenced by what you never have desire for. It will be hard. You cannot be influenced by what you don't have desire for. No wonder James says that every man is enticed and tempted while he is drawn after his own lust. And when lust is finished, it produces death. Why? You go after what you already have desire for. You cannot tempt me now. Right? You can't tempt me now with, let's say, jollof rice if I don't already desire jollof rice. I'll look at it and walk away. But if I already have desire for jollof rice, then I can be tempted by jollof rice. So you see, influence works with your interest. Your interest, your desire. That's what influence works on. Faster. Because you already have the desire. Whether it's ordinate or inordinate, you already have the desire already. So it's easy for the influence to work fast or slow because the desire is already there. Influence just helps to uncover it. That's always been there. It's always been there. If you've never had the desire to have threesome or foursome, you will not be influenced by those who are having it. Because you've always had that desire. There's always be something there for you, like, oh, I want to see how 3 people or 4 people are making love together, how it looks like, how it feels like. That's why you end up doing it. Because it starts with interest. Now, let me give us a journey of influence. The journey of influence is something that you must always remember and never forget. The journey of influence is you see and hear, it progresses to what you think, right? And reason. And then it progresses to what you do and act. That's the journey of influence. You see, you hear, and then it goes to what you think and reason. And then it goes to what you do and act. That, my friend, is the journey. It's the journey of influence. What you see, what you hear, what you think, what you reason to what you do and act. So it is see and hear, to think and reason, to do and act. That's the journey. That's the journey of influence. You see and you hear it, and then you think it, and you reason it, and then you do and you act. See, you can never be influenced by what you don't know. For example, if you are not on Snapchat, you cannot be influenced by what's on Snapchat because you don't even see what's on Snapchat. You don't hear what's on Snapchat, right? You cannot be influenced by what you don't know. You are always influenced by what you do know. You are always influenced by what you do know. You can never be influenced by what you don't know. Never. Never. And I always tell people this, that influence is neither good nor bad. It is what you do with the influence that makes it so. Influence is neither good nor bad. It is what you do with the influence that makes it so. So understand this, guys. Understand this. Influence is not a one-size-fits-all. What may influence you may not influence another person. That's just the truth. What may influence you? Because your desires are different. Your interests are different. So what may influence you may not influence another person. So influence is not a one-size-fits-all. No, it's not. Influence is intentional. It is person specific. It is person specific. It's not intentional. It's very intentional. It's not unintentional. It is intentional. It is person specific. So what may interest me, that may influence me, may not interest you or influence you. Right? So that's why we encourage people to know your influence and the effect it is having on your life. Know your influence and the effect it is having on your life. Know it. And you say, know this and know this. Know your influence and the effect it is having on your life. Know it. You see, we all have what influences us. All of us have the thing that influences us. Even me. I'm influenced by seeing greatness in people. I'm influenced by my personal development. We all have the things that influences us. You see, in today's world, we talk about AI, right? But there's the AI that we don't talk about. And that AI is agenda influence. That's the AI that we don't talk about. The agenda influence. I told you earlier, in 1984, $100 billion was earmarked for the LGBTQ agenda. So that agenda becomes a mainstay influence. So what you're seeing today, over 40 years later, is because of the agenda to influence AI. So this AI is not artificial intelligence. No, it is the agenda to influence AI. And it is here with us. It is here with us. Right? LGBTQ is an agenda to influence, to change the orientation of people towards sex, towards gender. When I say sex, I mean gender, right? Towards gender. So it's no longer just male and female gender anymore. There's many others. That's the new AI. That's the AI we are dealing with. The agenda to influence. AI. And this AI produces augmented reality that distorts the normal reality. How can a 45-year-old adult associate to being a cat? Literally, that's an alternate reality that is never right in any of the universe or multiverse or even in metaverse, in whatever verse. But that's what this agenda to influence, this AI is creating as the augmented reality, an alternate reality. So you see a full-grown adult male saying he's a 5-year-old girl. Alternate reality. The power of agenda to influence. See this, guys. Influence does not suspend your thinking. It gives you a new way of thinking. Influence does not suspend your thinking. No. It gives you a new way of thinking. A new way of thinking. And you see, as a person thinks, so the person is. As a man thinks, so he is. Influence is real. And it is everywhere, even in the air that we breathe. This is why you must pay attention to what's happening around you, so you know whether you are being influenced. Because the truth is, if you are not the influence, you are being influenced. That's the truth. If you are not the influence, you are being influenced, because everyone is being influenced. So guys, I hope this has made sense for you. I hope this has been worth your while. And I hope that you have learned something new from this. And I hope that you have been influenced. You have been influenced by this. You know, we always tell you whenever you come here that 3 things will happen for you in this new week. Right? 3 things will happen for you in this new week. Number 1, increased voice of God. Number 2, open heavens over your life. And number 3, more angelic activities in all that you do. Remember, guys, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. So we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. And one way to upgrade is to pay attention to what influences you. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.